So isn't some speculation that this somehow leads to his name?
Yeah, but he says earlier in the thing, I will not give you my name. Happy Friday the 13th, folks. This is Guide to the Unknown speaking. We are now in control of all things.
That's right. We hope you wear our little buttons on the streets, or else we're going to pick you off like little piggies.
Yeah, we're here to do our thing. He said that in a lot of letters.
I know.
Happy Friday for the 13th, everybody. For a little bonus for this, the spookiest of all days of the year, outside of Halloween, I think.
I think so.
We decided to do something a little bit different to celebrate.
Yeah.
We're going to be taking a look at a true crime case.
Right.
Guide to the Unknown has touched on true crime.
Yes.
Really, I think only a few times.
Yeah, and really the times we've done it, there was some sort of paranormal aspect to it in some way. We haven't really just for, no other reason, just talked about a true crime thing. So this is groundbreaking territory.
This is
huge.
Brand new for us.
Yep.
I have to say this is mostly my doing, which I think is... I have frequently professed myself not to be a fan of true crime.
And you're a little liar. You're a little stinking liar in a diaper.
I guess you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you're right. We're sitting here about to talk about the Zodiac.
Right.
But I think I bristle at most of the ways that people talk about true crime.
Samesies.
And yet, here I am.
Exactly.
Hypocrisy.
It's very compelling. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
And especially cases like the Zodiac that have this layer of like bombast to them.
Yeah.
It's crazy that this was real.
Yes, it's insane that this actually happened, that this is an actual story that took place in the 60s on the West Coast. There's a weird element of like branding here and storytelling. Yes. Seriously.
I know. It's just funny. You're absolutely right. He was cultivating a personal brand.
So I've been obsessed with the Zodiac for a while, mostly because of the movie Zodiac.
Yes.
Which I think is like really probably one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's a great movie.
Directed by David Fincher, written by James Vanderbilt, Jake Gyllenhaal, Robert Downey Jr., Donald Logue.
Yeah, of course. Lest we forget.
Third billing to Donald Logue.
Have you read the book Zodiac?
I'm listening to it right now.
Oh, nice.
Was literally listening to it in the car just before. They say crazy things in that book.
Like what? I haven't read it, I think, since I was like a teenager.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had never read it before.
What crazy things?
They talk about, this is going to be all over the place. I think we're just going to talk about the Zodiac.
Right.
This is not meant to be even just like a timeline of Zodiac stuff. This is just sort of looking at it.
A gab sesh between siblings.
Exactly.
Yep.
So they talk about in like now the Zodiac has been killing for years, writing letters to newspapers for years, taunting the police for years, and movies start to be made about him. So the movie Dirty Harry, the Clint Eastwood Dirty Harry, is about trying to catch the Zodiac, ostensibly. It's
the Scorpio
killer
right?
who's writing all these letters. There's another movie. I don't remember what it was, but in the book, the author, Robert Graysmith, calls out that it had like a low budget. The filmmakers had an idea. They had limited screenings around San Francisco, which is where Zodiac seemed to be like most active.
Yeah.
They had a card writing campaign. So you could fill out a card. It said, "Why do you think the Zodiac kills?"
Oh.
And people could write on the card and put them into a little box and they would win something.
What?
Yes.
I don't remember this.
This was a little gambit because the Zodiac was so obsessed with his own story and the limelight and the press of all of this. And he had already written about, I think he wrote about like, who do you think is going to play us in a movie or something? And he was saying, The Exorcist is a hilarious satire.
Right.
Like all this dorky stuff. So they knew he loved
the Zodiac
movies.
Would have had a field day on Letterboxd.
That's
if that
true.
was around during his time,
yes,
the reviews on there.
This is the Zodiac speaking. 3 stars.
Right. The Exorcist is hilarious.
This is hilarious.
Nobody else gets it.
Right. Not quite like me.
Right.
So they thought a movie about Zodiac, he'll probably come to see it.
Yeah.
And if he comes out to see it and he sees that there are these cards, he won't be able to resist writing something.
Uh-huh.
Now, that is a long shot,
Definitely.
I would argue. But sure, I guess can't hurt to try.
Exactly.
Here's what's crazy. And I want so much more information than was given in the book. I feel this could be a chapter unto itself. In about a sentence, Robert Graysmith goes, "The box was positioned at the front of the theater, and a man was sitting on a stool inside the box."
What?
This is what he said in the
Actually,
book.
this does ring a bell to me.
There was a man inside the box where you would fill out your card and then put it through a little slot in the top. There's a little chair in there and a man sitting there with a flashlight. He was supposed to look at every single card as it came through the slot and try to see if it was Zodiac.
Yeah, this does ring a bell to me now.
And it makes a little bit of sense because I was like, when I was hearing them talk about the top level idea here,
Yeah, you're
I was
like, well, he's just going to be gone.
He's just going to be gone. He'll fill out his card and disappear. So you'll know that he was there.
Right.
So it was like, oh, here's the answer. They were going to catch him in the moment. But there was a little guy.
I mean,
I feel like
only kind of. They would have to like look at their watch and be like, okay, it was at 6:15 that happened. See if you can figure out who came around 6:15.
Correct.
'Cause he's probably not going to pop out of the box and then like pin the guy and cuff him.
No, he was supposed to, over a loudspeaker, get in touch with like the theater owners or the police nearby or something like that. Like, swarm!
Wow. We are very blessed by technology.
Absolutely.
That's so funny.
Really, what a shitty job.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to sit in this little box.
So cramped.
And let's face it, if I'm tasked with sitting in that little box and I have to catch every card that comes through the slot, what if several people put like a bunch of cards through at once?
There's no way.
I'm dropping them and I don't know which ones I've already looked at. You're not looking at all of them.
There's absolutely no question.
There's a 0% chance.
You're looking out for like the Zodiac's like blocky writing.
Yes.
But, there's a lot of blocky writers.
100%.
What if Robert Durst should drop something in there? The guy from the Jinx.
You're absolutely
also
right.
Also very blocky.
That's true. And also, I mean, that box is like kind of shifting sometimes. Like people knew there was a person in there.
They had to. I was about to say, are there like holes in the box or something besides the card slot?
Right.
Because it would get so stuffy in there.
Yeah.
Those cards were damp by the time
100%.
this gambit was over.
It sounds horrible. And I have to imagine that this cardboard
Also,
box was occasionally shifting and shuffling.
It's also got to be a huge box.
Oh,
aren't people going to wonder, like, why is this so enormous?
Why did they need like a coffin?
I would probably do it, but I'd be like, this is really weird.
This is really, really weird. This is really strange, everybody.
This is huge.
So anyway,
the slot had to be front facing. It wasn't the top, like a Valentine's Day box.
Yeah, because then he'd have to be like crouching, like pulling from above. You're right. They'd have to basically go into his hand. His mouth. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Waiting to receive.
Oh my God. I couldn't believe it when I heard
That's
it.
That's nuts.
And I think I ignored the next couple of chapters because I was just driving and thinking about this scenario. I couldn't get out of my head.
Yeah, I wish I knew who that person was who was doing that.
I know.
Find their book about the experience.
100%. That person is still out there, yet to be caught. Whoever was sitting in that box.
That's what I want to know.
Now that's what I'm interested in.
I know everybody's concerned about the Zodiac, but I'm more interested in the person who's trying to catch the Zodiac by sitting in a giant box.
That's correct.
Boy.
So I've got here, and in the video version here, we're also going to be putting this audio out on our Guide to the Unknown feeds. I've got the Zodiac ciphers right in front of us. Now, the original idea here was that we would take a look at the Zodiac ciphers and purely just for fun, see if we can possibly
crack them.
Can we solve them? Even if they've been solved before. Our skills as people who have solved things in the past. Can we solve a Zodiac cipher?
Right.
So I, in my infinite hubris, I have laid out every cipher he ever sent.
Yeah.
I've got the version so that we can just look at it. And then I've got a version where I've overlaid a grid. so that on each symbol we can just go in and like
I think
start
it's
to
so
fill
clever.
out.
I love this. This was a great idea.
I think it's fun. I think that there's about a 0% chance that we solve anything.
Oh, I completely agree. But for trying to solve it, this is the cleanest way to make it happen. So thank you.
You are absolutely welcome for this mostly useless thing.
Okay,
Maybe we'll
great.
share it with people if they want to take a shot at
Sure.
solving these ciphers just for the fun of it. Maybe I'll put this in like a public file that people can just get to.
Right. No, there are unsolved ciphers, Z13 and Z32.
Z13 and Z32. Well, I don't have them written like that.
That's completely fine. I don't even really know what that means, but I knew that there was something where it has not been done yet.
So the way that I saw it, and I got all of these ciphers from zodiacciphers.com. This is an incredibly dense website about like everything Zodiac you could possibly want. And quite frankly, we should probably also say that there's too much to the Zodiac story for us to touch on everything.
Yeah, we're not here to explain the whole thing.
No,
but,
we're here to
discuss
just, yeah.
And, as though we were just talking to each other about it.
Exactly. Top level, check it out. But so the ciphers that I've got here, they've got what they refer to as the 408 cipher.
Okay.
This was the original cipher that was sent to 3 different newspapers.
Yeah.
They were sent to the Vallejo Times-Herald, the San Francisco Chronicle, and the San Francisco Examiner. Now, what Zodiac did, he had one big cipher of 408 characters. That's why it's called the 408 cipher, 408 characters. And he cut it in 3. He sent the first third to the Vallejo Times-Herald. He sent the second third to the San Francisco Examiner, and the third to the San Francisco Chronicle. And they each were supposed to print their portion of the cipher for people to solve.
Right.
And he had made like a credible, a credible admission that he was a murderer and was responsible for having killed people already, and insisted that he was going to give away his identity in this code if you solve it.
Okay.
It was eventually solved pretty quickly by, I believe, a professor, a married couple. I think they were both professors.
Yeah, I love that. Yep.
And so the entire theory from here was, well, it's not as if Zodiac is some master mathematician. It was not an impossible cipher to break.
Right.
Hobbyists effectively were able to break it.
Right.
But here's what he said in his original letter. Why don't you go ahead and read this,
I was about to
Kristen?
say, why are we reading it from this? Isn't there just like a normal text version of it? Will pulled up the like actual letter that somebody hand wrote out, and it's from, the 60s, and it's been photocopied all janky. Like, it's very hard. This looks like a cipher. I don't know what the hell this says.
Kristen, why don't you go ahead and read this for everybody? It's like so mangled. I have no idea what it says. Yeah, I'm sure that the website has it.
It does. It's set up there. Okay. Dear editor, I am the killer of the 2 teenagers and so there are also misspellings in this, which some people have wondered whether they have some significance to them or not.
Are they intentional?
Right.
Was he dumbing down his language to almost like hide who he
Throw
really was?
people off the trail.
Yeah, he's somebody who can't spell words correctly. Meanwhile, he's Juilliard trained or something.
Juilliard. That's like the famous acting school.
Well,
they're known for their extremely wonderful spelling.
He could be the
Juilliard.
master thespian from Saturday Night Live.
He probably is.
Yeah.
Okay, so it says, Dear editor, I am the killer of the 2 teenagers with a hyphen last Christmas at Lake Herman and the girl last 4th of July. To prove this, I shall state some facts which only I plus the police know. Christmas. One brand name of ammo, Super X. 2, 10 shots fired. 3, boy was on back, feet to car. 4, girl was lying on right side, feet to west. 4th of July. So he's having a little fun with the list format.
Well, he's
Slipping
saying
in a
at
4.
Christmas, here's what the stuff was. Now he's saying at the 4th of July killing, here are the details.
Okay. Clearly, I'm not Juilliard trained, so I just got lost. Okay, so that happened on Christmas. 4th of July, 1, girl was wearing patterned pants. 2, boy was also shot in knee. 3, brand name of ammo was Western. Here is a cipher, or that is part of one. The other 2 parts have been mailed to the SF Examiner and the SF Chronicle. I want you to print this cipher on your front page by Friday afternoon, Aug 169. If you do not do this, I will go on a kill rampage Friday night that will last the whole weekend. I will cruise around and pick of all stray people or couples that are alone, then move on to kill some more until I have killed over a dozen people. This is terrifying.
It's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
It is horrific. Mm-hmm. And it kicked off
the whole thing.
Yeah,
because
years of obsessing about this killer, years of more letters, doubling back and trying to figure out if he had sent other letters previous to this one.
Right, that had been ignored because they didn't know what was going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's signed with the Zodiac symbol of a circle with a cross going through it, like a gun sight.
Right.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And the letters were always stamped with too many stamps. Mm-hmm. And they said, please rush to editor. It was later discovered that since he had, with this original cipher, cut it into 3 pieces, he left himself a clue to the 3 pieces. To, it looks like the Vallejo Times Herald, he put 2 stamps on it. Mm-hmm. And then for the other ones, he would put 3 stamps and then 4 stamps. So that way he would know which of the 3 is going to which of these places.
Right.
But so... yeah, these 3 pieces, I think only 2 of them were printed. I think one of them did not print their piece, and then one of the newspapers compiled all 3 onto a single page and posted the full thing itself.
Yeah.
The famous story of solving this
yes.
is that this couple said that the way that they were able to break it, they liked puzzles, and they realized that even though he used a variety of symbols, it was probably a straight up substitution cipher.
Right.
Meaning that this triangle is probably, if this triangle is T, everywhere that this triangle appears is the letter T.
Right. Nothing's being switched around or anything.
Right. But there are a ton of different kinds of symbols.
Yeah. It's not, just letters all swapped around. It's symbols. It's standard English letters, but sometimes they're backwards. It's a lot to look at. And I think that they started in a pretty classic way, which was looking for double letters, because then those are probably common double consonants like TT.
Yep.
And went from there.
Or in this case, they decided that since this guy is a murderer, he's very likely to use the word kill.
Right.
With a double L.
How scary.
How scary. So they began looking for 2 of the same symbol back to back. Mm-hmm. And they could sort of move on from there.
Right.
As Jake Gyllenhaal says in the movie, you've got the double L, which means before it's got to be the K, the I, and you're on your way.
Yeah, that's right.
But here's the thing. I looked at... one of the things that I tried to do in putting all this together is not see how the ciphers are solved. Mm-hmm. But this website, the zodiacciphers.com, which again, you should, if you're interested in this stuff, you should absolutely go to, because it's a fascinating story, and they appear to have...
it looks super extensive.
A ton of information.
They have a ton of hyperlinks all over the place.
They do show how the cipher comes together. And the first thing I saw right off the bat, top line, I like killing.
Yeah.
The L's in killing are 2 different symbols.
Right.
So he would use
Yeah.
different symbols to stand for the same letter.
Yes,
which is what makes it even trickier. Mm-hmm. There are 26 letters in the English alphabet, but he would use, 72 symbols.
Right.
So it's just, it's not impossible to solve, obviously, but it's incredibly complicated.
Extremely challenging.
Probably more time consuming than anything. So
I feel like doing that with a switch cipher like that is kind of unfair.
Unfair?
Yeah.
You're accusing the Zodiac killer of being unfair?
Yes, I think he was cheating.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a hell of a stance to take. They never caught this guy.
I think he was more unfair in other instances.
Okay, fair enough.
But
good of you to say.
I find this unfair.
I do think it's pretty unfair.
It's a trick.
He also said, I will give you my name. And then when you solve this, at one point he says, I will not give you my name. So you will stop me.
Damn it.
I was like, oh, man.
Damn it,
we
Zodiac.
Trusted you.
Yeah. We put our faith in you. You were walking us down the primrose path.
But what a thing to happen. What a thing to receive. I
can't imagine how terrifying this must have been.
Oh, God.
Like, this kind of age, they weren't the same time, but I think about Zodiac and Son of Sam somewhat in the same breath, because Son of Sam also did some, communicating outwardly.
I really don't know anything about Son of Sam.
I think that he did.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I don't know anything about Son of Sam.
Well, maybe we should look into that sometime for another bonus.
Yeah, if people enjoy this,
let us know if you enjoy this, because maybe we'll do more true crimey stuff in a bonus sort of way outside of just our standard Guide to the Unknown.
Yes.
But I just can't imagine knowing that there is a serial killer who is on the loose and even calling out. I guess the public wouldn't know that he was calling out this weekend, I'm going to go to town or whatever.
Right.
But with Son of Sam, I think that he targeted, I could be wrong, I mean, I haven't thought about this in a while, but let's say he was targeting women with long blonde hair. So a lot of women were cutting their hair and coloring it to avoid falling into the pattern of somebody who'd be a victim. It just seems so scary.
It's incredibly scary, but it's also it's also deranged, because you begin to, like, I just thought, well, maybe he even is saying, I'm going to kill anybody with long blonde hair. Mm-hmm. And then he just waits to see how society changes because of something that all he had to do was say something. All he had to do was put a threat out there in the world, and he can watch everybody react to it.
I mean, that's a super interesting idea. Yeah, and definitely plays into the power aspect of people killing, because a lot of times that's one of the biggest motivators. It can be underlying other things, but a lot of times boils down to power.
Yes.
And so seeing the power that just your words and intention could have in that widespread way is probably a really intense way for somebody super screwed up to get their jollies.
Yes. And that's why it almost seems like with Zodiac, he was 100%, he murdered people, right? He was a killer. But the longer that the story goes on, and you can see this, I think the movie is actually like very, very much trying to be accurate to Robert Graysmith's book.
Yeah.
Which...
And I remember people criticized it for that when it first came out. Yeah, because it was so long and people saw it as being
very long.
Boring. And they're like, it's a too faithful adaptation, like trying to kind of cover all of the same beats.
There's a ton in it, but I can't decide whether it's like overstuffed in a bad way or if I get something new out of it every time I watch it, because it's very dense.
I don't find it overstuffed in a bad way. I too really, really love it.
Yeah.
So I totally understand people saying that. But just my personal preference, I love it. I could watch it double. I've watched this movie so many times. I have too, but I mean, I could, if it was like 6 hours long, I could find a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think Robert Graysmith's book was also criticized for either like misrepresenting something intentionally or not, know, but it's one person's vantage point into this grand story. And he was sort of considered by many to be like the keeper of all of this in a way.
Yeah, definitely. I also think, and I don't have a horse in this race or whatever. I think that people have kind of come out and said that his account of it is not like, it shouldn't be seen as the ultimate account.
Right.
And that it's like biased in some ways, it ignores some facts or whatever, which could absolutely be true.
Yeah.
But it's also not totally impossible that, I don't know, when something's really big, people like to often kind of like humble it, like cut it down to size a little bit.
True.
And that could also be at play. It's probably somewhere in the middle.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, he was writing a book.
Right.
There's only so much that you can put in the book. You can't literally represent reality.
Yeah, because you still need it to have like interesting beats and have it be something that people want to read and want to keep on reading, like not just drop the book in the middle. So that doesn't mean fictionalizing it, but maybe there are some things that are true but aren't that exciting,
or even
so
just
those
like
get cut or
outside of raw footage. I don't think anything can accurately depict reality.
Yeah.
You know,
Totally.
like it's still
You have to
somebody
have been in
telling
it.
you the story. So anyway, the point is Zodiac started by sort of like taunting everybody with these letters as he killed people, had already killed people, and was threatening to kill more.
Right.
And then as time goes on, in the movie, they eventually go like, listen, this guy's confirmed to have killed like, I don't know, 7 people or something. Do you know how many people die? How many people are murdered in this county, let alone the country, in a given month or whatever? This guy's nothing. And then eventually he's complaining in letters saying, I don't see any people wearing my buttons. And they're like, I don't think he's even doing anything anymore.
Yeah, he just wants some attention.
He might be taking credit for murders that he never even committed.
Yes.
So did his jollies pivot from murdering to press?
Yeah, just the notoriety.
Yes, and it was enough to just see his name
right
in the papers, that kind of a thing.
Right. I think that's not totally impossible.
One thing that I noticed by putting the ciphers together like this, so to make a grid where we could just like go in and start like trying to fill in what this cipher is.
Yep.
I realized that like this 408 cipher, the original one, is 17 columns of characters and I think like 8 rows.
Yeah.
Something like that. Then I would work on the other ciphers. And so by the time that you get to this is called the 340 cipher that I've got on screen right now. This, I believe, was only recently solved in the last couple of years. 17 ciphers across.
Yeah.
And however many down. But
like double that, maybe.
yeah. And then here's one, a little cipher that he included in a letter about his buttons.
Yeah.
17 characters across. Almost always 17 characters across.
I wonder why.
I don't...
Do you have a thought about it?
I don't know that I necessarily have my own theory, but once I noticed that by putting together this little document, I started thinking about some things that Robert Graysmith says in the book. I believe at one point he calls out the fact that these ciphers are written very neatly.
Yeah.
Very, very neatly. So he must have had some sort of a guide to be able to write them straight across. They're not angled.
Right.
Nothing is like out of place. I could literally, and did.
Yeah, like they were written inside a grid.
Yes, I can drop a grid on it and every single symbol falls into a square pretty neatly. There was a theory that Robert Graysmith posits in the book, which is that Zodiac, and the big story about Zodiac, the way that they kept trying to confirm suspects was by getting handwriting samples.
Yeah.
Seeing whose handwriting matched the Zodiac. And so they would declare that some people couldn't possibly be Zodiac because the handwriting didn't match, things like that.
Right.
Eventually, Robert Graysmith posits something really baffling that I had certainly never thought about. He said maybe these letters aren't written. Maybe they are somewhat transcribed. He thinks that Zodiac may have projected characters onto a page and then traced them.
Right.
So it was not as though he was writing the letter K.
Right.
He was drawing someone else's letter K.
Yeah, so he's not really using his own handwriting potentially.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Almost like making a classic ransom note where you cut out all different letters from magazines.
Right.
Did he take a bunch of different sources of handwriting and then use them? It's more a drawn, picture than it is a letter.
Right.
And then one thing that I think is really weird, even in you just reading this first, what we're calling the first letter, the first one that people really took note of, he almost always started his letters, once he gave himself the name Zodiac, he would almost always start them with, "This is the Zodiac speaking." Yeah. And I always thought that was weird because he's not speaking, he's writing. Is that part of the character of, I'm crazy? To be like, this is the Zodiac speaking, even though it's written in a letter and mailed to you. It's not speech at all.
Could be.
But something that you read in the letter, I thought was really, really weird. He says, here is a cipher, or that is part of one. Yeah. That's something that I think you would say out loud. And not write. Yeah. Here's a cipher, or that is part of one. Right. That's catching yourself. That's a parenthetical or an aside.
So... Are you wondering or saying it kind of sounds like this was like transcribed?
I don't
like
know.
somebody was saying this out loud and maybe somebody else was writing it down?
Listen, I have no idea. No,
I know, but
probably no.
Was that what popped in your head?
It's what popped into my head.
Yeah.
I don't think it really makes
That's an
any sense.
interesting
It feels
idea.
like we would definitely have caught him if there was more than one. If there were the Zodiacs.
Right.
Or something.
Maybe he was literally talking out loud to himself and writing down what he was saying.
Maybe he talked out.
Totally
yeah, exactly.
be,
Maybe he talked out loud in his house, recorded himself on tape, and then wrote what he heard himself saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like another layer of misdirect.
I mean, it honestly could be.
Another layer of oddity. Because these letters are undeniably strange. And it does seem like they are intentionally strange. So who knows what extent this guy would go to.
That's true. The thing about, I only vaguely remember this, the thing about maybe projecting letters and then tracing over them, can you go back up to one of the envelopes? I want to see if like things look like they repeat. I'm trying to see, like, is the E the same every time?
The capital V in Vallejo
different.
appears and is different each time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he did it literally 100% of the time. I don't really understand. It's a compelling theory because anything that suggests that Zodiac was more of a mastermind, it seems like we all want to latch on to.
Right.
I don't know why.
I think partially because it makes him different and unusual.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
guess so, yeah.
Like if he has this like crazy intellect, then it's
True.
less likely that any Joe Schmo on the street is somebody who's going to be doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right about that.
You know, it makes him more
of an
separate.
other.
Yeah.
I was Allie walked into the living room the other day when I had just had the movie on. I was writing with the movie on just because it's an interesting like backdrop, and I don't know the last time that I've actually watched the movie.
Yeah.
I like the soundtrack and I like the feeling it gives me. So I use it a lot while I'm writing. And so Allie walked into the room at one point when Zodiac, like, there's a woman that gets into his car. And he's
that part's so
ostensibly
scary.
Yeah. He says that he's trying to help her. He says, first of all, he honks at this lady on the road until she pulls over, tells her that one of her tires is wobbling and loose, and says that he can tighten it up.
Yeah.
Then he obviously loosens it.
Yes.
So that when they keep driving, her tire falls off. And then he can pull over again and go, I guess it was worse than I thought. Here, get in my car and I'll drive you to a service station.
Yeah.
She gets in his car, but she has a baby. He goes, oh, I didn't realize you had a baby. And as they're driving, he says, we'll stop at the first service exit. And she can see a gas station. And he drives right past it.
Right.
She goes, that was a service station. And he goes, they were closed. And just shuts it down. And they keep driving in silence. Allie walked in and she was like, this is why it's scary. Because there's a quality to him that does seem like he could be normal. That she was willing to get into his car.
Yeah.
That she didn't immediately see through the fact that this guy is the threat. What makes him scary is that he could be just like anybody else. So I think,
because he's been getting away for so long. You wouldn't think based on these letters and obviously the killing, they just like anybody else, because it feels like a real freak show.
Absolutely.
And yet he keeps being able to slip away undetected. So he must look just like everybody else.
Yeah.
So is there some sort of like otherness to him that we can latch on to?
Yeah.
And be like, but he's not.
In a weird way, he needs to project himself as being other, so that he can hide in plain sight because he's actually somewhat average,
normal,
and for us, we need him to be crazy and other because we do not want to view each other or ourselves as being capable of stuff like this,
right?
So collectively, we need the Zodiac character to be a monster. It's both what allows him to get away with it,
I know,
and allows us to sleep easy at night.
Absolutely.
All right. I laid out everything as if we were about to crack ciphers.
Right.
But quite frankly, I think the second that I realized that the double L has two different characters for it, I think...
it's cheating, and it's near impossible.
It's cheating. He's a nasty, dirty cheat. So I think...
I don't know why I expected anything different.
I know. I think maybe something that could be kind of interesting real quick is to take what the website... the solutions they have and look at them against,
like, lay it over.
Although I think that
not maybe literally, but
they sort of already have that. Let's take a look at one of their ciphers here.
Okay.
So this is part 1 of that first cipher, I believe. Yeah. So this is what started it all, right? This is what starts the cipher.
Yeah.
I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest, because man is the most dangerous game. Most dangerous animal of all. So that's part 1.
Yeah.
But you can see that, like, killing up top, one of the L's is a B.
Yep.
And the other one is like a little flag.
Yes.
Remember we did this for a game a while back? This was like a flag cipher.
I remember
thing.
that was like brain melting.
It took like hours. Another reason why
the flag cipher.
Yeah, I thought it would be kind of fun to like pick a few letters, but I really think that we would just be torturing ourselves and never getting to a solution. So I might make my grids available for people out there watching. Check the show notes for this if you want to check that out and maybe, take a shot yourself. But I think for this show, us solving would only end up falling flat.
Right.
But I do think it's interesting to see what he said and how they sort of operate. Like, arguably, you could gamify the ciphers now using the fact that there are decoded answers as a cheat sheet or as like a hint system of sorts.
That's
right?
true.
If you're stumped on something, somebody else has already solved most of these ciphers. So you can just sort of like take a glance and see what it is. So let's take a look at part 2 of the cipher here. Or is this part 3? What am I looking at?
I can't tell.
This has to be. It says it's part 2.
Yeah, right. It says on the website part 2, but it seems a little cut off or something.
Yeah.
Here, I'll
most thrilling experience is even better than getting I remember this, getting your rocks off with a girl, nerd.
Right. God.
The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn. And I think that becomes reborn in paradise once we get to part 3.
Yeah.
Ooh, part 3 is only called 87% solved.
Oh, interesting.
When I have killed... all I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collecting of slaves. And then, I think it's 87% collection for my afterlife. And then there are just like a bunch of leftover
characters that I didn't get to. And so Will's reading this off of basically that same sort of grid where it's his actual cipher and then somebody has just put the letters that make the sentences right above it. So that's why it's kind of like stilted and hard to read. We're looking at kind of like, if you blur your eyes, it just looks like a bunch of gobbledygook in a square.
Yes, for sure. I do think that the leftover symbols of part 3 of this first cipher, it seems to be the last 18 characters that nobody knows what they were for. I remember in the movie they suggest like maybe it was a word jumble kind of thing. Yeah, look at this.
I love the jumble.
Exactly. So honestly, we probably could do the jumble.
Yeah, let's give that a shot.
You want to try to jumble it out?
Yeah, sure.
I've got my.
We'll just see,
Yeah, I got my
Seems
grid.
other people haven't been able to do this, so we should probably be able to do it real quick.
I think we should be able to knock this out. It's been a...
But, it's fun to play with. We'll see.
It's only been a mystery for the last 50 years.
Right.
So
but
let me...
2 yutzes...
Yeah, exactly.
With access to camera equipment should be able to solve this. Toot sweet.
Yeah. Let me see. ORIETEM ETHHPITI.
E pluribus unum. What does that mean?
I don't feel like saying it now.
What? Why? Is it bad?
I don't know what the hell it means.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to out myself as a fool.
Oh, I mean...
So all I can do is...
You could even the playing field, because I say stuff that makes me sound like a stupid idiot all the time.
All I can do is tell you I know what it means, and I just refuse to get into it right now. All right. So, ORIETEMETHHPITI. These are the leftover characters that nobody knows what they mean.
So
now, why? I guess here's something weird. Like, even just talking about the idea of there being leftover characters at all.
Yes.
If he ran out of a message to leave,
why have these extra characters?
Yeah, why not just eliminate this entire line?
I know.
It's basically the bottom row of the cipher.
Plus one character in the second to bottom row. It would, if they hadn't found these sentences that are obviously super relevant to what's going on, this would really shake my confidence were I going in here, fresh, trying to find something.
Yeah.
That there are all these extras. I think I would be like, I must have done this wrong. Because it doesn't make sense that these are hanging out here.
Yeah.
But it also wouldn't make sense that you did it wrong and yet there are sentences about how you're killing people and stuff. So it's, they obviously got it, but what for what purpose is this down here?
Yeah.
Oh, isn't some speculation that this somehow leads to his name?
Yeah, but he says earlier in the thing, I will not give you my name. So
right. I think I might be thinking of another letter or another cipher. I know that's at least been a thought that people have thought, well, maybe those extra letters are kind of a restarting of a second code or something that leads to his name.
Well, because of the misspellings as well, you almost could sort of wonder, like, is this something that is horrifically misspelled?
Right.
It is weird that it only happens at the end where it would get this bad. So I think that you can probably dismiss that.
Yeah.
Notion.
It really could just be to screw you up. Like maybe he wrote all this out, saw that it was pretty damn close to being in a grid, and then just threw a bunch of other crap in here to make everything even. And also be like, and this will be confusing, so bonus.
Honestly, maybe that is it. So all of the ciphers are, like I said, there's 17 columns, and I believe 8 rows. Yeah, 8 rows in part 1, 8 rows in part 2. And so because of the added characters, part 3 also has 8 rows.
Right, but without them, it would just be
It would be 7 rows. Yeah. So maybe this was his compulsion to like, who cares? Something's got to be there because these 3 things need to be the exact same size as each other.
Right, and this is going to make them confused too. So actually this ends up being perfect.
Yeah, honestly, that feels like it might just be the simplest possible solution.
Yeah, I really think that could be without really further knowledge or speculation. It makes logical sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. So zodiacciphers.com seems to have entire pages dedicated to the unsolved 18 characters. Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, let's take a spin.
Yeah, we'll take a glance and just see.
Let's see.
Oh, okay. This part 1 seems to perhaps posit that they stand for I am the Zodiac killer.
Oh.
But that would almost be its own cipher. Like a distinct set of rules from what cracked the earlier parts. Right, that's what I was saying,
yeah.
But in terms of character count,
it does fit.
It fits. So what they say here is it could be argued that if he was to reveal his identity or pseudonym in the 408 cipher, then logically he would sign off the cryptogram with it. This was also apparent in the 340 cipher, which we're yet to look at, with the near Zodiac tantalizingly placed on the final line. If the Zodiac killer had revealed his pseudonym straight away, then one of the letters would have opened with, "This is the Zodiac." Oh, I see what they're saying. I see what they're saying. This letter that was sent to the 3 different newspapers, nowhere in it does it say Zodiac.
Right, so he needed to sign it somewhere, and that might be where he signed it, was within the cipher code.
I'll tell you who I am. Not my name, but I am the Zodiac killer.
Oh, it's in that one where he says, I'll tell you who I am.
I think that's pretty interesting.
That makes sense.
That's pretty interesting. It's weird that it follows a completely different set of rules, That is
really weird. Why would he do that? But I mean,
Yeah, they even say on the website, this is an attempt at reasoning a solution.
Right.
Not a claim of a definitive solution. But it is an interesting sort of theory.
And Lemon Boy in the comments seemed to think that they were onto something.
Was that right? Was it Lemon Boy?
Lemon Boy responded to somebody with LOL. I didn't even see what they responded to. I just saw the name.
So in part 2, what do they have to say here? There are misspellings in the letter, such as forest with 2 R's, experience instead of experience, and paradise with a C instead of an S. But this was not unusual.
Right.
In the cipher, he seems to sent to the second two newspapers. He seems to omit something from his original message. That's kind of weird.
What do you mean? What's
I think this is why I had a hard time reading the letter when I was like, are we reading part 2 or part 3?
Right.
It's because part 2 of the cipher has a random E at the beginning of it.
Oh, why? That's weird.
It visually throws you off entirely, which is why I was confused literally minutes ago reading it.
Wait, also, if there's just a random E, how does this end up with the exact same 18 character length at the bottom being mixed up?
That's very
You know
interesting.
what I mean? It should be bumping
It should all be bumped. Yeah.
So there must be a missing character somewhere within it, which we don't have to find.
I'll tell you what, he must have gotten confused writing his own ciphers. I would.
He really might have. Oh, absolutely.
You've got like 50 characters to stand in for 26 letters.
Without question.
I feel like you would get screwed up, and not like for the era, not like a computer to.
No, you can't check it or something.
Exactly.
Right.
All right. It seems like somebody else, or another theory seems to sort of confirm that maybe the last 12 characters stand for a Zodiac killer. It seems the idea of the message suddenly switching to encrypt the final 18 letters could be different.
So
basically what I was saying before, they were saying the last 18 rather than the last 12 rather than the last 18 characters, but the same sort of idea applies of like at a certain point the type of cipher changes, and now these symbols stand for different letters.
Yeah.
To be extra sneaky, a cipher within a cipher.
Right.
I keep saying almost
Sniper.
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 A sniper.
I've been doing a lot of those because it's allergy season.
It sure is. A sniper. A sniper. All right. I think it's almost too dense to get into this. There are like so many pages about the 18 unsolved characters.
Right.
I have to say.
But just the fact that there can be, there's a part 4 about the 18 unsolved characters is so interesting.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know, speaks to the fact that this still captivates people and they're finding different ways to come at it. A lot of times they're ending up with the same result, which is some variation on I'm the Zodiac killer or the Zodiac killer.
Yep.
But that's definitely why the Zodiac killer is arguably maybe the most famous American serial killer, because there's still so much mystery to it. Like, not just like other unsolved cases, is there a mystery as to who the person is who did this and what their motivation is.
Yeah.
But there's all this material from them that's also super confounding. So you like can't forget it really.
It's very true. Yeah. Do you think that he is the most famous American serial killer?
I think so. Who do you think?
I don't know. I guess I always
Ted Bundy?
in the true crime world, it seems like Ted Bundy
I guess
is
it's Ted
always
Bundy.
the one that
I think
people
it's
go
probably
to.
second. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just for me. I don't think that there's anybody that's quite as like enigmatic.
Yeah.
And interesting as much as I do sort of like, and it's arguable. We're doing this. How do I feel about true crime or using it to tell stories? I don't know.
Right.
I'm doing it right now.
Right.
But I anytime I think about Zodiac, I find myself hooked again.
Yeah.
Re-hooked and re-fascinated and re-watching the movie or looking stuff up. It's just so crazy. I gravitate toward this story.
I know. I think there's also, I don't know if it's for you too. I think for me, there's an element of nostalgia about this, just because I think I found out about the Zodiac killer and like a lot of true crime stuff when I was a teen, and I had those like formative years my brain is still kind of like learning and
That's
stuff.
interesting.
I feel like things about like the Zodiac and some other a lot of things, but we're talking about true crime, I'll just say other true crime things are like embedded in there. So there's some sort of Pavlovian response of interest and excitement when something comes up. Like when it was getting passed around a lot last year that somebody said that they found the Zodiac killer. I was like, what? Like there's just something in there that seems to always get me.
I know. I'm still absolutely fascinated by that kind of thing. And I think we are going to try to look at the people who have been pointed to as the Zodiac killer.
Yeah.
All of the people who have sort of like, even in the last few years, like you said, come out of the woodworks and said, oh, this person's the Zodiac, that person's the Zodiac.
Yeah.
I think we
there's
want to take
guy-
a look at some of those like accusations, or I'm sure false confessions and books and all every once in a while a modern story of somebody claiming they know comes out. I think we're going to look at that on our Patreon.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/GTTUpod.
Yeah, we definitely are. There's a guy who wrote a book about his dad being the Zodiac killer. The title might even be something as blunt as My Father Was the Zodiac Killer.
I think that's right, yeah. I want to know more about that.
Me too. I never read that or anything.
Neither
I kind of read about it.
All of those things, I have to admit, I sort of shrug off. It just feels like it's too late. But I do believe that here's the crazy thing. From the Robert Graysmith book, like he basically, at some point, he's talking about Inspector Toschi.
Yep.
Who was assigned to the case for a long time in San Francisco. And they would talk about like, well, it's been quiet now for a few years.
Right.
Is the Zodiac gone? Is he dead? Is he in jail? Mm-hmm. Is he done killing?
Yeah.
Maybe he's finished. And Inspector Toschi's thing was like, I think he's still alive because if he were dead, I feel like a family member would have come across something that implicated him. He himself would be so compelled to leave something behind to indicate it was me.
Right.
To gloat and get the glory after the fact.
I think that's a good theory.
And it's, quite frankly, it's still not impossible.
It's not.
That he could be alive right now. We're yet to find out who he is, because when he dies, he's triggered something to be found or something to be sent, or...
Especially with his history of obviously really enjoying the attention of kind of like announcing himself, but not doing it all the way for fear of his own safety. But if he is, dead at the point that he has triggered something to go off, then he doesn't have to worry about that. So he could just sort of unveil himself.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so wild.
It really is.
Point is, check the show notes right now, because if we've got that Patreon episode, and it should be dropping at the same time.
Yeah.
Check the show notes to go straight to our Patreon to get in on figuring out what's up with these people who claim they know who the Zodiac is and stuff like that. I want to talk about that. Yeah,
now we're going to go through and find all of those people, including the reveal that happened last year and what the deal was with that. So that's going to be available on patreon.com/GTTUpod for a $4 and up tier.
Yep. So, all right, here is the second letter where he claims his name officially. Maybe he hid it in a cipher within a cipher last time. Here he opens the letter. Dear editor, this is the Zodiac speaking. In answer to your asking for more details about the good times I have had in Vallejo, I shall be very happy to supply even more material. By the way, are the police having a good time with the code? If not, tell them to cheer up. When they do crack it, they will have me.
I just had another thought that I'm sure other people have brought up before. Could he not be a native English speaker?
Oh, that's interesting.
Or, and or writer. Like, I shall be very happy to supply even more material is kind of a weird way to phrase that.
I can see what you're saying,
and the same way that you pointed out, him saying this is the Zodiac speaking repeatedly, I believe, is also... you're writing, you're not speaking. Not a fleshed out thought, but just a thought.
I don't know. I think that my feeling on that is like, it feels couched in like, is he intentionally misspelling stuff too?
I know that's what people have theorized, which I also think makes sense.
On the 4th of July, I did not open the car door. The window was rolled down already. The boy was originally sitting in the front seat when I began firing. So he's talking about, we haven't mentioned the murders themselves, but his victims were, I want to make sure that I
know.
So the Blue Rock Springs, 4th of July, here's the Blue Rock Springs attack. This is when he killed Darlene Elizabeth Farron and shot Michael Renault Mageau. So I want to call something else out, just like a detail thing from the movie. In the book, in the movie, I'll tell it this way. In the book, Robert Graysmith describes that July 4th attack by the Zodiac. And they describe Mageau, Michael Mageau?
Yeah.
Is that his name? They describe Michael Mageau as when he was found, it was 4th of July, summer. He's wearing 3 shirts and 3 pairs of pants.
Oh.
And so it was just like, if any time that I've like looked into the Darlene Farron murder, her supposed connections with Zodiac and her life and the intricacies of her as a person, everything seems so complicated. And then when it's like she was with a guy who's wearing 3 pairs of pants, it just like the whole thing starts to go like, what is this story? What is this case? Who are these?
Completely forgot that detail. Did we find out why all the pants?
I know why all the pants.
Why?
He was self-conscious about being
That's right.
too skinny.
Like Kurt Cobain.
Is that right?
Yeah, he would wear like layers because he was self-conscious about being skinny.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, he tried to basically sort of like bulk up.
Yeah.
But just like detail work, when you watch the movie, and I never caught it until I read the book and then watched the movie again, it's scripted when they're in the car. Darlene turns to Michael. Yeah.
Real familiar with Mike.
Michael.
Yeah.
And goes, "Why are you wearing so many shirts?"
I don't remember that.
It's a line in the movie. James Vanderbilt, the screenwriter, they did their damn research.
What does Michael respond?
He goes, "It's cold." She goes, "It's the middle of summer."
Oh yeah, okay.
And he kind of just goes like, "All right, whatever, like get off my back," kind of a thing. All right. So anyway, back to the letter here. When I fired the first shot at his head, he leaped backwards at the same time, thus spoiling my aim. He ended up on the back seat, then the floor in back, thrashing out very violently with his legs. That's how I shot him in the knee. I did not leave the scene of the killing with squealing tires and racing engines as described in the Vallejo paper. I drove away quite slowly so as not to draw attention to my car. The man who told the police that my car was brown was we're talking about a different era here, a Negro about 40 to 45, rather shabbily dressed. I was in this phone booth having some fun with the Vallejo cop when he was walking by. When I hung the phone up, the damn thing began to ring, and that drew attention to me and my car. Then here's the details about the murder last Christmas. And I think the last Christmas murder...
I think
Lake Herman. I
don't know. I was going to say
David Arthur Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So in that episode, the police were wondering how I could shoot and hit my victims in the dark. They did not openly state this, but implied this by saying it was a well-lit night and I could see silhouettes on the horizon. Bullshit. That area is surrounded by high hills and trees. What I did was tape a small pencil flashlight to the barrel of my gun. If you notice, in the center of the beam of light, if you aim at a wall or ceiling, you will see a black or dark spot in the center of the circle of light about 3 to 6 inches across. When taped to a gun barrel, the bullet will strike in the center of the black dot in the light. All I had to do was spray them as if it was a water hose. There was no need to use the gun sights. I was not happy to see I did not get front page coverage. Then there's the Zodiac symbol at the bottom, and it says no address.
Right. Man.
What an eerie... This is, I think, almost more intense because it is so specific and deliberate.
Yeah, it was made... Well, the other ones that we read were about his state of mind.
Yeah.
And like, I like doing this because this, and I think it's going to get me that. With these, he's talking about literally the killings and attacks that he had perpetrated and giving like inside info about them.
Cold, hard data.
Yeah.
In a very impassioned, frightening way.
Right. And way more worked up about, you know, not getting attention.
Yeah.
Or like being slighted in some way. Like he's just explaining the way things happened. You're right. Cold, hard data. But then when it comes to feeling like he didn't get his due, because somebody said it was a well-lit area or whatever, he's pissed and wants people to know how smart he is.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. He wants his just due.
Right.
So here's a letter. I guess there are also multiple letters that people theorized could be the Zodiac. Here is one that was sent to help with the ciphers. It reads, "Dear Sergeant Lynch, I hope the enclosed key will provide to be beneficial to you in connection to the cipher letter writer. Working puzzle, cryptograms, and word puzzles is one of my pleasures." So is mine.
Yeah.
"Please forgive the absence of my signature or name, as I do not wish to have my name in the papers, and it could be mentioned by a slip of the tongue. With best wishes, concerned citizen." So there was a theory there that it might have been the Zodiac, and people tried to match.
One of those words was spelled wrong, right? It was concerned without an E at the end.
Oh, is that right?
Concerned citizen.
Concerned.
Oh, wait, no, what am I looking at? There was
citizen.
something. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought there was something that was spelled wrong.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
I got so
Cryptograms is
used to
spelled wrong.
reading
I know.
typos.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I saw them where there weren't any.
Maybe. So that was one letter that was theoried to possibly be Zodiac. And then his next attack was the Lake Berryessa attack of Brian Calvin Hartnell, who survived, and Cecilia Ann Shepard,
Right.
who was killed. And this is maybe one of the scariest
Yes.
scenes.
I definitely
from the
remember
Zodiac movie.
the reenactment of this on Unsolved Mysteries from when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
That super stood out to me. And then in the movie, yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah, there's a weird quality. You were talking about like the Zodiac in terms of nostalgia for you. I don't know that I knew much about Zodiac as a kid
Yeah.
or anything. So I don't think I feel nostalgia
Yeah.
for the Zodiac. As crazy as it is to say, I think the thing that I'm like so hooked on with the Zodiac is that like I like horror. I like horror stories. I'm a writer. And I like to see where ideas come from. And I think for me, the Zodiac is, weirdly enough, one of the origin points of a unique kind of horror, of the killer being far smarter than anybody gives him credit for, and toying with the police and leaving these cryptic messages. Like, I do think that there's a lot of Zodiac that ends up in Hannibal Lecter, you know?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And Saw 7. I don't know. I just feel like there's...
I thought you were saying Saw 7.
And specifically Saw 7.
I guess.
Saw 3D,
That
my favorite
stinks,
one.
right?
It's
Yeah.
terrible. Yeah, he's the inspiration for Saw 7. Not at all the first 6.
Right.
The 7th one. But like, I think for me, he is almost a horror character. And the fact that he's part of real life is even worse.
Yeah.
But it almost just makes it even more fascinating of like, how did this happen?
It really
for
is
real?
Unbelievable. It kind of is hard for me to stay grounded in reality
Yeah.
when reading or learning about him, because it's so over the top. It's crazy to realize that it's real.
Yes. The next killing was October 11th, 1969, is the murder of Paulie Stein, a cab driver, on the corner of Washington and Cherry in San Francisco, where I just was.
Right.
And so following this attack, they got another letter. Now, this time, I think I know exactly what the deal is here. I think I know exactly why Zodiac sent the following letter and did everything that he did. It seems so unnecessary.
Yeah.
But he sends a letter, and along with it, he ripped off part of the victim's shirt.
Right.
Of Paul Stein's shirt.
And this is what facilitated the most recent "we found the Zodiac" sort of thing. It has something to do with the shirt.
Yeah. So the idea was that he sent in some of the actual evidence from the crime scene.
Yeah.
And I think it is straight up as simple as trying to conclusively prove I, the letter writer, am here to be taken seriously. I'm sure there were people that were doubting this. Right?
Yes, it's totally that, though. It's confirming, like, yeah, I haven't just been writing you letters and taking credit the way that some people do. I did this.
Yes. So he sends in this letter that says, "This is the Zodiac speaking. I am the murderer of the taxi driver over by Washington Street and Maple last night. To prove this, here is a blood-stained piece of his shirt. I am the same man who did in the people in the North Bay area. The San Francisco police could have caught me last night if they had searched the park properly instead of holding road races with their motorcycles, seeing who could make the most noise. The car drivers should have just parked their cars and sat there quietly waiting for me to come out of cover. School children make nice targets. I think I shall wipe out a school bus some morning, just shoot out the front tire, and then pick off the little kiddies as they come bouncing out."
Yeah. So especially now it being completely verified that the writer of this is the Zodiac makes that it's not an empty threat.
But it did turn out to be an empty threat.
Yeah,
he
but
didn't
like
end up
getting
doing
this is like, oh my God, the person who's saying this is absolutely the killer.
Here, there's proof. Here's a blood-stained fragment of shirt.
Right, so it's adding credence to whatever he says here. So the panic that must have taken hold when they got that is like, whoa.
And again, I think it's all about Zodiac being able to say something and watch people flip out.
Totally.
Even like in the movie, they make a big thing out of Zodiac. They're like, So he kills people on like lovers' lanes, and now he's killing a cab driver in the city, and they go, he's changing his method.
Right.
And they make a big deal of that for a second, like, we're going to understand what that means.
Right.
I think he just needed to kill someone to prove once and for all that he is a killer.
Yeah.
Paul Stein, I think, is just a means to an end.
Right.
To get evidence from a crime scene to send to people to say, yes, be afraid of me.
Yeah, that's the letter is the motivating factor here more than the killing even is.
Yes, that's what I sort of think.
Yeah.
And then even ending it, because the letter is all about, I'm smarter than you. I'm brave enough to stay in the area after I kill someone, quote unquote brave, obviously.
Right.
But then the last two sentences are, maybe I'll kill a school bus full of kids. And I think that's even just a cliffhanger to ramp up the paranoia even further to enjoy the spectacle.
I think that's true.
I think we're pivoting into fully, this is only about
press.
Yep. Right?
Yeah, I totally agree.
All right. I want to, now this is where admittedly I lose track of the letter. So we just covered like the big guns.
Right.
I think this is arguably where I start going like this. I don't know what we're getting into, and I'm kind of curious to see what happens.
Definitely. You know, I think this might be a good point to pivot.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. So why don't we do that?
Okay. What do you mean?
Partially because, well, I have to leave in like 40 minutes.
True.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
So I don't think we can go through all of his things.
Okay. Hold on.
Okay.
New ending, and I'll cut something from before. Our Patreon thing before, I think we're going to pivot now, and what's up on Patreon is not the other suspects. That's going to take us even more time.
Yeah.
I think we're going to look at the other letters that I don't know, that you don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even know if we'll get through all those.
Probably not.
Look at all this, but we're going to go through some more.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, everybody. I think that's going to bring us to the end of part 1 here. Those are sort of like the big letters that kicked everything off that people know. That's sort of our top line feelings about Zodiac overall. But we're not done.
No, we are going to go on over to patreon.com/GTTUpod and continue looking at letters and keep talking about the Zodiac and see what we see.
Yep. And now we're going to be getting into the letters that, quite frankly, I'm not familiar with. Stuff that I don't know and haven't formed thoughts about already necessarily. Because he sent like dozens of letters.
Tons and tons of them. And called that talk show.
Yes. Yeah.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. So we're going to see how much of that we can get through. Check the show notes right this second to find a link to that part 2 that's going to be up on our Patreon. That is patreon.com/GTTUpod. Check it out. We hope you enjoy. Poke around. There are a million things in there that you might like.
Yep,
but if you've enjoyed this, please be sure to spread the word. Send the video to people. Send the podcast to people. Leave reviews. Leave your comments. What do you think? This is the first time that Guide to the Unknown is very concertedly focusing on true crime.
Right.
And we don't know how it's going to go.
Yeah.
I think it's dicey subject matter that is controversial for good reason.
I completely agree, but we're both interested in this and thought it would be a cool thing to do.
Yeah, especially on Friday the 13th.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. The most auspicious of days.
It most certainly is. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening and or watching. Follow at GTTUpod. Go to gttupod.com. We've got a full series of shows all about the paranormal, true stories behind horror movies, folklore, a lot more great conversation like this for you to dive into.
Yeah.
And once again, please consider sharing. And if you'd like, you can also reach out to us online.
Yep. I'm at Chillin' Kristen.
I'm at The Myth Traveler. So have a great day, everybody. And we'll see you over on patreon.com/GTTUpod for more.
That's right.
The
Starting
Zodiac.
at the $4 tier, because people could go there and be like, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. So if you want this, you need to join us at our $4 level.
Yep. The links are down there right this second. Enjoy. Happy Friday the 13th and see ya on Patreon.
Yeah.
We did it.
We did it.
We solved the case.
I don't know.
Basically solved the code.
There's pretty much nothing more for anybody else to say.
I really didn't have to put together those grids. This is for nothing. All right. Let's just keep rolling.
Yep.
Ready?